Hi, I'm OURIA. I grew up with emotionally mature parents, and now I'm learning how to be free. I'm actually doing this. I thought about doing this for a very, very long time, but I always felt like there was something holding me back, but not anymore. For the longest time, with almost everything I was doing, moving through life, making music, trying to build something, trying to become someone, I always kept finding myself hitting a wall. Like there was this wall that I couldn't pass. I couldn't break it. I couldn't climb over it. So I thought that I was probably not working hard enough. I kept thinking that the problem was the song, or the sound wasn't right enough. Maybe I haven't found the right producer yet, or I needed to fix my strategy. I was always searching for the next thing that would make everything finally click. And as an artist, and I'm sure a lot of artists can relate to this, we're very good at blaming ourselves. But over the past year or so, I realized something. The wall wasn't the music. The wall was me. Or more specifically, the version of me that I kept suppressing. I realized I was not allowing my own identity to shine through. I was not allowing my real self to exist fully. I was editing myself constantly. My thoughts, my feelings, my music, my truth. Even the conversations I was having in my own head, I was editing them too. So it got to a point where I got completely lost. I didn't even know who I truly was anymore. So I decided to start over, quite literally, with a new name. As you can see, my new artist name is OURIA, and in this video, I'm going to explain why. Honestly, Careful should have been my second name at this point, especially when it came to my music. Because I was not only asking myself, is this song any good? I would first ask myself, what would my parents think? What would they say? I don't want to hurt anyone. I don't want to make anyone feel exposed. I don't want to trigger anything, so I'll just play it safe. So instead of writing my truth, I kept writing around it, or writing about something else completely. And I think that's when I started to lose myself as an artist. Most likely you don't know this because this is a brand new channel, but my previous artist name was Keria, and all the music I released up until now was under that name. And I want to make it very clear, I'm not here to erase that part of my life. Keria was a real part of my journey. I worked hard. I learned a lot. I had beautiful moments. I met people. I released music and music videos. I built things, and I will always cherish that. But Keria was careful, like very, very careful. Keria was still asking for permission. I was trying to make it in the music industry. I was constantly trying to understand what works commercially, what sounds good on the radio, what was trending, what are other artists doing, what do playlists want, what do producers want, what does the industry want. I was obsessed. I was so obsessed to a point where I knew the top 10 songs on the charts by heart. Europe, UK, US, New Music Friday. I was checking everything religiously. I was just so sure that this was the right strategy. Until one day, I just had enough. I was burnt out, emotionally, mentally, creatively. It got to a point where I almost fell out of love with music. And that scared me, because music was always my safe space growing up. So I started asking myself, if music was my safe space, why was I editing it so much? Why was I avoiding the little girl that fell in love with music in the first place? Why was I not allowed my inner child to shine through? And I think the answer is simple, but also painful, because that little girl was hurt a lot. And as she grew older, she kept getting hurt. So she learned to be careful. She learned to read the room. She learned not to say too much. She learned not to need too much. She learned to blend in and to keep it all to herself. But not anymore. This last year, I've been on a journey, a healing journey, a self-discovery journey. And to be fair, I'm still going through it, but at least I stopped running from it. And that's a great start. Honestly, one of the biggest turning points started with a YouTube video, actually. But before that, I was trying to figure out, why was I feeling the way I was feeling? I had therapy, psychology sessions. I did family constellation, even astrology sessions. I was basically trying to find answers. But for the longest time, I felt like my family dynamic was so unique that nobody could relate to it. Or I couldn't explain myself properly. Maybe I didn't have the right language for it. And then one day, I was in the shower. I was listening to some some podcasts on YouTube like I normally do, and the next video started to play automatically. I remember it said something along the lines like, 10 signs you are a child of a narcissistic parent. First, I didn't think anything of it, but I remember this specific moment. I was standing in the shower with shampoo all over my hair and 10 fingers sticking up in front of me. That's when I realized that I could relate to every single word mentioned in that video. And that was so crazy to me. All these terms that I didn't even know existed finally started to make sense. The chaos I carried throughout the years suddenly started to form patterns, like truly something shifted in my brain that day. As soon as I stepped out of the shower, I immediately took my phone and I went into the comment section. And I quite literally dropped to the floor as I started reading. I saw a whole community of people sharing their stories so similar to mine. People in their 40s, 50s, 60s, still struggling with it. People like myself who were just discovering it. People who overcome some parts of it. People sharing their healing journeys. I was shocked. In that moment, I felt seen like never before. And that's when I realized that my story is not unique whatsoever. I felt this sense of relief, a very freeing feeling, like I'm not alone in this. And damn, I thought more people need to know about this. When it came to my music, everything I released under Keria was very edited. I did not allow myself to even think about writing songs that truly meant something to me. Songs that I could personally relate to. I was doing electronic music, which is very much focused on the beat. So I would write lyrics about, I don't know, breakups that I never had. I got lucky in that department, okay? But deep down, I always knew I was not allowing myself to dig deep because I was simply afraid. Afraid I would expose my family. Afraid that I would betray them in some way. Growing up, whenever I would complain about something, whenever I pointed out that something hurt me, I felt like I was immediately pushed into a corner. I was told I was ungrateful. I was told I was not allowed to complain. I was told that everything was done for me. I was made to feel like I had no right to say anything at all. So naturally, I learned to stay quiet. But I got to a point where I could not work like that anymore. I had to fall in love with music all over again. So this past year or so, I started writing from scratch. I stopped listening to the radio. Can you believe it? I haven't even opened New Music Friday in I don't remember how long. And I don't check the charts. I don't know anymore who is singing what. Who is the next up-and-coming artist nowadays? Obviously, some things still pop on my socials, but you get the point. I wanted to fall in love with music all over again, like I did as a child. And for that, I had to stop everything I thought that was a good strategy. So that meant I had to go back to basics. I started writing from the heart, which meant I had to tell my truth and dig deep. That's right. I allowed myself to let it flow out of me, quite literally. And once I opened that door, it felt like everything started to burst out. I started vomiting information. I really have been holding back to a point where I surprised myself by how much was coming out of me. Ideas started to flow, melodies, lyrics, concepts, stories. I even had dreams where songs, melodies, lyrics would come to me. And I would force myself to wake up and record it all. It's truly quite a feeling when you allow yourself to just be you. I realized that music was healing me, but not because it was fixing things, but because for the very first time, I was using my voice properly. I was allowing myself to be seen, and that's the only way I can continue. I can't do my thing by hiding. I cannot do music that is safe. I cannot please everyone. It simply doesn't work like that. So why am I starting with a new artist name, you may ask? Because I truly feel like I need a fresh start. And I love the name OURIA. I've been thinking about that name for a very long time. And OURIA means light. And for me, it means shining light on the parts of myself I kept in the shadows. And just being unapologetically me. Not only for myself, but for anyone who felt the same. Anyone who was suppressed, made feel small, was misunderstood, neglected, unseen, unheard. Anyone who learned to walk on eggshells, read the room, keep the peace, and mold themselves into whoever they had to be to earn love. So if you're someone who grew up emotionally unsafe, if you learn to perform before you learn to be honest, if you love your family, but you're finally admitting that some things did hurt you. If you're trying to understand why you feel guilty for wanting boundaries. If you're an artist who lost touch with your own voice because you were trying to become what everyone else wanted you to be. Or if you're simply someone who's tired of abandoning yourself, this space is for you. Because for me, this channel is not only talking about what happened. It's about what happens after you finally start seeing things clearly. When you grow up around emotionally mature people, narcissistic traits, domestic abuse, or relationships where you had to shrink yourself, you don't realize how much of your life is built around survival. You don't always realize how much you're trying to please people, how much you're trying to earn love, how much you're carrying guilt that was not yours to carry. How many personal limitations you created because you felt like you had to adapt to everyone around you. And I think once you start to become self-aware, something changes. You start to realize, I don't owe my whole life to my parents. I don't owe my whole identity to my partner. I don't owe my peace to my relatives, friends, colleagues, or anyone who expects me to betray myself to keep them comfortable. So yes, this channel is going to be about family dynamics, but it's also going to be about boundaries, self-awareness, emotional freedom, creativity, learning how to take control over your own life, removing the limits you place on yourself, whilst finally putting healthy limits around other people. Because boundaries are not about becoming cold. They are about learning how people can cooperate with you without destroying you. And I'm not saying this as someone who read one book and decided to open their third eye on YouTube. I've been living this. I read a lot of books about it. I listen to podcasts. I watch a lot of videos. I read articles. I go to therapy sometimes. I write songs about it. This is my biggest muse. I'm just constantly trying to understand it better. And my hope, by creating content around these topics, we can build a community of self-aware people. A safe space where we can share ideas, experiences, and help each other to become more free. Because honestly, I do believe that the more self-aware people become, the better the world becomes for everybody. Hurt people hurt people. We all know that phrase. And if we don't stop to understand ourselves, we risk repeating the same patterns. So, we have a lot of work to do. And I want to be clear about something. I'm not here to bash anyone. I'm not here to put any family member down or anything like that. Also, I'm not here to teach or act like a professional on these subjects. I'm just being me. I'm here to explain my story, my journey, and to create a safe space for people like myself who have been through similar things. I'm not perfect. I still do get triggered sometimes. There's still moments where I feel like a child inside my own body, trying to prove herself. So I'm not here to say that I figured it all out, because I haven't. I'm in it too. But I just finally want to start talking about it so I can be free, so you can be free. And if there is one thing I want OURIA to do, it is to make people feel less alone. This is OURIA. This is where I start over, and maybe in some way it can be a place where you can start over too. Thank you for watching.